George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie, Wolves, is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie, Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it is cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Ampire. Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Oh, we won. Oh, thank God. Thank God we won. We won. Whoo. That was a frustrating experience yesterday. It's like one of those just on the doorstep all day long. Can't understand why you can't score a touchdown. It was frustrating. Very frustrating day. Was.
There's really no other way to describe it. A lot of red zone foreplay yesterday is what that was yesterday. That's what that was.
A lot of foreplay. I got to tell you, like, now that you mention it, that idea came into my brain a few times while on the air. Unfortunately, didn't go with that instinct whatsoever. Stayed professional the whole time. But that whole, we got to seal the deal, guys, was running through the brain a little bit yesterday.
There is, we've had this discussion many times. There are things you can do here that you can't do over there and vice versa. So
Correct.
That would be one of them.
Correct. But, hopefully, forgive me, guys, over there. I was thinking about it. My brain went there. Brain was there yesterday.
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. All right. So let's go through it. Commanders get their first win. Most unusual thing you'll ever see. 21.7 field goals, franchise record for a guy who's been here a week. Never had they kicked 7 field goals in a game before. 90 plus year old franchise. The other team scores 3 touchdowns and loses because their kicker got hurt in the opening kickoff, was unavailable to them. They tried an extra point with their punter. I don't blame him. It was shanked. So they decided at that point they can't kick anymore. Went for 2 twice. Good on the Commanders. Stopped both of them. Late in the game, they're going for it on 4th downs where they would kick game-winning or potential game-winning field goals, but chose not to because they didn't think they could make it. So, lucky. I mean, it's a fair question to ask. How much does luck and circumstance play into Washington getting a win?
Like 75%. I mean, they make extra points. We're not talking about a win today. So, yes, like a significant amount. Yes, though, a win is a win is a win in the NFL. I'll take it. There's a larger discussion to be had that because of that doesn't cover up, Malik Neighbors running wild on the secondary. And once again, Daniel Jones looked like a normal quarterback instead of a bad quarterback against us. So, yeah, 3 quarters is luck. And I'll still take it, but there's still a lot of things to discuss even after a win.
Yes, there are. Okay, let's start with the good one. 7 of 7 true drives end up in points, because I'm not going to count the kneel down at the end of the first half. 8 seconds left in the half, they just kneel down on the ball like that. It counts on the scoreboard as a drive, but let's not count that. 7 of 7 true drives, 3 drives of over 10 plays. First drive ate up half of the first quarter. They have yet to turn the ball over yet. Penalties killed them in the red zone. A couple mistakes killed them in the red zone. Doesn't change the fact between the 20s, this was about as efficient as we've seen them. And then if you go back to Tampa, 5 of 8 true drives could have been scores if it wasn't for 2 missed field goals, and one of them under 50. So we're talking 12 of 15 now. Should have been points. No turnovers yet. I'll go back to, there's a luck aspect that occurred yesterday, clearly with the Gano injury. That's a big part of the story here. But efficiency-wise, considering everything's new and this is a rookie quarterback, it doesn't feel like it. And that is a really, really promising part of what's going on here.
No, I think if there's the major positive of yesterday, it is that they didn't have to use Tress Way. I can't remember the last time I was at FedEx Field and they didn't have to use Tress Way. And the other part of this that I will look at it as a more positive aspect is this is week 2 of a new offense. the fact that they couldn't execute in the red zone is a problem, but the fact that they're moving the ball that well into the red zone means that you've got those problems, right? So that's the positive I kind of look at this is you have a rookie quarterback that can move the ball up and down the field. I know we'll probably talk about it in a little bit too. I love the play calling yesterday too. Like there were some brilliant moments in the play calling yesterday that I really, really loved. So yeah, I'm with you. Like the fact that they're just scoring points on most of these drives, I will 100% take it. And if they improve, like we all think that they're going to improve, some of those field goals are going to turn into touchdowns later on in the season.
And, this is also, I know he was sacked a number of times. A lot of it is him moving around. Like the sack total against Tampa Bay was his scrambling around a lot. There were a couple of, I would call true sacks yesterday against the Giants, but a lot of it was him just moving around. There was a couple where he needed to get rid of the ball a little bit faster, and I'm not nitpicking him because I think like for 2 games for a rookie quarterback, he's played really, really well. But I want to give this to the offensive line here. Like they took on an exotic blitz scheme a week ago. I know the numbers don't show this, but I think if you really think about how they protected, it's better than I think I expected, especially with questions on the edge. And then the strength of the Giants is their front. Lawrence, who I don't know that I called his name more than once or twice the whole game. Brian Burns, who made one nice play. Thibodeau, who got near Daniels once or twice. I mean, they've handled, in this case, a serious front of Pro Bowl caliber players. And then a week ago, exotic scheme that's going to blitz you 40, 50% of the time. Like, honestly, to have scored on or could have scored on 12 of 15 drives, to not have turned the ball over yet. He did have a fumble a week ago, but to not even have come close to turning the ball over yet. I mean, honestly, like I can't ask for much more than that. They're protecting the ball. They're moving the ball. We can nitpick how they're scoring. We can nitpick the kicker situation that was going on for the past few weeks up until yesterday. But honestly, like, could you ask for anything more out of a whole new operation with a rookie quarterback and an offensive line that we had serious questions about coming into the season?
No, I think this is about as best as you could have hoped for, if not a little bit better, to be honest. And then looking at what they did on the ground yesterday, like, say what you want about the Giants, but rushing for over 200 yards is rushing for over 200 yards. I don't care how bad a team is. That's a lot of yards to get on the ground. And they were pretty consistently good yesterday running the ball, not only with Robinson, but also Eckler had a great game too. So, yeah I really liked both of them.
Robinson ended up with almost 8 yards a carry, which is pretty ridiculous. Eckler, I think it was like 6 for 38, something like that. Daniels ran again, most of it not designed runs again. He was scrambling a little bit, took one big hit. I'll get to that in a minute. But for Robinson, man, I feel like I've been talking about this for 2.5 years since he came back from the incident that occurred and he was, suddenly somewhat healthy again. Last year, what was so infuriating about what they were doing on offense in the amount of times that they threw the ball was he was their best weapon. Everybody knew it. They couldn't see it. I can't even believe Ron let it go to the direction that it did, where they didn't run the ball because he had so promised to run the ball more and more and more and more. And I knew this the second they got this job, and I heard Quinn talk about the type of players he likes. And I don't know what coach wouldn't want someone like Robinson. I'm like, they're going to fall in love with this dude. Like, he plays exactly the way that you want someone to play at that position. I'll go back to that Philadelphia game a couple of years ago, the night game where Philadelphia was undefeated and they beat them and they just leaned on him. He just kept getting better and better and better as the game progressed. And I remember London was on the field and came up to the booth and told me, I just saw B-Rob and he told me he's going to go ham on these guys. And then he did. And I'm telling you, like, this guy he is not going to bust off a bunch of long runs. He had one yesterday where he got out of trouble and busted one off. I don't think that's going to be the typical outcomes for him, but him rushing for 100 yards a game, if given the opportunities, can be a regular occurrence. And I'm hoping it's the beginning of that because he is a true number one, old school, physical, punishing. You want nothing to do with him in the second half, running back. And I think he said in his press conference today that really stood out to me. He goes, it's been a long time since I got 17, as in 17 carries. That is long overdue. And I hope becomes the norm with him. Listen, I love everything Jaden's doing, but he's the guy that's going to make this thing go. And them rushing for 200 yards yesterday, led by him with 130 something, about time. And, not to this coaching staff, they are new, but I'm hoping we're going to lean on him more and more and more as the season progresses.
The other part about this too was because they were using him so much and running the ball so well. It was how many 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1s, or 2nd and 2s that happened yesterday where you knew what they were going to do, and they converted a bunch of them because they knew what they were going to do with him. He had the confidence. The offensive line had the confidence. I think that was maybe my favorite part of being at the game in person yesterday is they had these 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, and you knew exactly what they were going to do because it was working. And that's what I like too, because I think between last year and, we haven't really seen it this year, obviously, but last year when the enemy's offense was so cute, we would all yell and scream, just hand it off to that guy. He's going to fall forward for 3 yards. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. So that was the other part about this was, okay, we're 2 games in, and this coaching staff already realizes when it's 2nd and short, 3rd and short, we know exactly what we're going to do, and it's going to work, and the other team can't stop it.
He's got to be the canine of all canines for Doc. I mean, he's so old school the way he plays. Like, he wants the violence. He wants to hit people. He dares you to try to tackle him. He finishes every play. And then, if he's given more and more opportunities, there may be a couple more moments like we had yesterday where he gets a couple of big runs. I remember Chris Cooley said this a couple of years ago. He was like, this is a guy who's going to hit a lot of singles and doubles, not a lot of home runs. And I went, you know what? That sounds about right with him. But he's starting to hit more and more doubles. And it's starting to happen regularly. And what I love about him is he gets better when the games go deeper. Like, that's what you want in a running back. It's the last person they want to see is him in the 3rd quarter of a close game, or you're up 3, you're trying to eat some clock, and he comes out there. It's just the ultimate weapon. It's old school football. Dan Quinn talks about physicality. You're going to like how we get down. That's the guy you want to lean on. Like, he is right in the mold of the running backs that used to be just beloved here. Riggo, maybe not Riggo to that degree. Stephen Davis, George Rogers, Gerald Riggs, this style of punishing running back that can hit a big play here and there. And it's often because you want nothing to do with him when the 3rd or 4th quarter rolls around. So I was so happy for him. And I'm happy for the offense because I know everyone's all excited about what Jaden can do. I am too. But if they're going to lean on him and make him a focal point, which they did yesterday, I think they're going to see some really good results out of that.
No, and I would say this as well. It's giving them an identity fast too, which is something we literally talked about 3 weeks into the season last year as well, where they couldn't figure out anything that worked last year. So much so that we're 3 weeks in when Terry was saying we need to figure out who we are. Here we are 2 weeks in. I think we kind of know who they are. And you and I had even discussed this about how the roster was constructed, right? Like, we knew they were going to go in this direction the way things were constructed. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they're going this direction because this group seems smart and they know who their best players are. He's one of their best players. So it's just nice to see that they're actually executing on that.
You mentioned Terry. This happens every time. The second he's not targeted the week after, they make a point of targeting him. And he was the most targeted receiver and he had double the targets of anybody, but they haven't unlocked him yet. Again, it was like 4 catches on 8 targets for 20-something yards. So they didn't forget about him this time. He was there. They tried to find ways to get him the ball. They haven't figured out how to get him the ball in the right spots yet. So if there is something that needs to be figured out, and like this weekly, you're going to have things like this, but B-Rob, that was great. Eckler has been outstanding in 2 weeks. Ertz, I was told, was going to be more prominent in the offense. I think he was kind of lost in the intermediate passing game in week 1. They found him again. He made a really good catch yesterday. The next step is going to be, where does Terry fit in? How do we get him the ball? He is by far their best pure wide receiver. He's going to have to be a big part of this if this is going to continue to grow. And he's kind of the one where I would go to Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels and say, what are you guys thinking with him? Because clearly we've got to unlock him now too. So in all of the success of the offense yesterday, that is one thing that clearly is hanging out there that they have to figure out moving forward.
Well, I think it started at the end of the game yesterday, right? Like, I think all these teams are doubling him and daring you to throw somewhere else. And we saw Jaden find Ertz 4 times during the game yesterday. And then who was it at the end of the game? It was Noah Brown. Like, he makes his debut and makes 2 really big catches, right? And I don't know how far up the depth chart he's going to move, but that was clearly somebody that was taking advantage of, being the 3rd or 4th wide receiver on the field. And that's where I think Terry's going to be unlocked. one of these other receivers, and Brown's a professional, steps up and it kind of he's going to take some attention away. Not all of the attention, but some of the attention away. And I think we literally saw the beginning of it at the end of the game yesterday because he made two great catches that you need to worry about him now.
Yeah. And then, I mean, listen, with the efficiency, again, the red zone, we can parse out the things that went wrong. But I've been saying this from the spring with Jaden Daniels and into the summer. And you don't want to get ahead of yourself because I kept like reminding myself and saying it publicly. He hasn't played yet. Like until you see him play, it's hard to know. The guy never had a bad day in camp. The work ethic was there. It was so obvious he was ahead of the curve. It was so obvious even in the preseason. The first thing he did was change a play in a preseason game when they told him not to, but it was the right thing to do. Like he's so ahead of the curve. He is not a rookie. He just isn't. And I'm sure we're going to see some rookie moments, but if you are not remarkably impressed with what he is doing just through a couple of games, you don't know this sport. Like go watch Caleb Williams last night, who I don't think is going to be bad. I just think he's learning, and his instincts right now where he's running around like that, he's learning in the NFL. You can't get away with that stuff. Not as easily. Like not everybody is Pat Mahomes. We're going to find out. And I'm not down on him. We haven't seen Drake May play because he didn't win the job in New England. Like they're treating him like a rookie. Penix obviously walked into a weird situation. Nix looks like a rookie. Go look at his number. Tomlin ate him up yesterday. Like he knew it was going to happen. Like he can't wait to get a guy like that. And like he eats people like that for lunch. Our guy took on one of the best fronts, at least personnel wise yesterday, and one of the best schematic defenses over time. Hadn't turned the ball over yet. Makes great decision after great decision after great decision. This guy is not a rookie. And so if this is like the starting point, where are we going to be in a couple of years, 2-3 years? Like, I don't know. And I think that's what's really, really, really exciting about what's going on here right now.
No, to your point, because, you do have to look at Twitter to see what the reaction is on some of these guys, even after a win. And I didn't see like hate, but people criticizing Jaden yesterday. And all I could think of was like, this was week 2 of a guy's career. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make any dumb decisions. He looked like he was in command of the offense, no pun intended. And the fact that he just hasn't even been rattled yet, even though he's been sacked as many times as he has in the first 2 games. Like you said, he went against a legit defense last week. He went against a really good defensive line this week. He doesn't look like a rookie. And that's like the most important part, I think, about all of this. Like, I'm with you. I think Caleb's going to be fine, but he's running for his life, right? And he looks like he's running for his life. Like that's the difference there.
Yeah, the hard part for him, I'll get to him in a little bit, is the weapons that they have kind of set him up. Like this team, we walk into this and I go, okay, Eckler really does have juice left in the tank. So does Ertz. Like those were big questions. Like, are you getting guys that are on the wrong side of it? And how many years do they have left? I don't know, but they look as good as they've been in years, out there with them. So they've got it right with this, but nobody looks at this and goes, look at that receiving core that he has. How could he fail in year 1? And it's because he looks like a rookie, and most rookies look like a rookie. I mean, that's the part of this that I think is so beyond encouraging. None of this looks too big to him. He keeps getting better. There are points of the game that clearly need to improve. The red zone efficiency they need to talk about. But after week 1, where we're going, where's the intermediate passing game? There it was in week 2. In week 3, will we find a deep passing game again? Because I don't think he took a shot where the ball was in the air more than 15, 20 yards. But if you listen to him, he'll tell you why. Like he'll go, this is what they're giving us. I'm making these checks at the line. We're doing this. Last week, that second touchdown that he scored, apparently he got out of a bad play call on the goal line. Kingsbury admitted that. Said it was one of the worst play calls he's ever made. This guy's ahead of it. I mean, he is so far ahead of it. And, when I saw that column that Boswell wrote last week, where he's basically like criticizing him because he ran the ball too much. And I'm sitting there going, it was his debut. Like, when did you forget about that part? It was his debut. And I don't think he played poorly. I think I walked out and I said, he's the least of my worries after all of that. And I'll say it again here. Do I wish that they, converted in the red zone? Yeah. Could they done a little bit better there? Sure. The penalties were killers, but his execution wasn't there either. So we can nitpick and parse that stuff out, but largely, what issue do you have with the rookie quarterback that's played through 2 games that seems to be on the same page with his coaches, seems to understand the scheme? Like this is this is beyond. Like it really is for a starting point. Is he going to have rookie moments? I think that's baked in. But like for a starting point, if you have issues with him right now, I don't think you know this sport very well. Like this guy is beyond ahead of the curve at this point.
And not only that, to go back to your point on Caleb doesn't just have good skill position players. He has explosive players back there. He has Swift. He's got Moore, Adunze. Like he's got legitimate playmakers around him. And that offense has been anything but explosive. Jaden kind of has the opposite. Like we all love Terry, but Terry's not an explosive wide receiver. He makes really good catches and can catch a bomb here and there, but he's not like a cheetah out there like Tyreek Hill or something like that. He's a very, very good wide receiver, but he's not, blowing the top off somebody. Then you look at everyone else around in that offense. Everybody is solid, but nobody is, bringing the speed for these explosive plays. The fact that he is kind of working with the guys that he's got here, I'm more than okay with how he's looked through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the defense here, which that's where I think, and this is the surprise actually. If you told me like, listen, the offense could take a little bit of time to kind of get going, so be patient with them, but the defense is going to be at a starting point that you're going to be really happy with. And yes, they have some vulnerabilities, but like they're very strong in certain spots. I'm a little surprised here. Like this is where the lucky part came in. The fact that the Giants didn't have a kicker really did alter the outcome. And while I appreciate everything the offense did, ending up not scoring the touchdowns will bite you in the end. It should have yesterday. It should have. But because the Giants didn't have a kicker, it had to alter how they think about everything. One, there still is not enough pass rush. Like there just isn't. And the other day when we started talking about like going up against the Giants, like the reality is you have to make Daniel Jones uncomfortable. If you do, he doesn't see the field very well. He will put the ball in harm's way. His passes will get errant at best or intercepted at worst. He will make decisions like when he gets pressured where against the Vikings, there were a couple times that he got pressured and like scrambled into the rush, like things like that. Like he's just not seeing the field very well. They didn't make him uncomfortable enough. And when he's in the pocket, I can't believe I saw this stat and I couldn't believe it's true. He has the best passer rating of any Giants quarterback in their history. Better than Eli Manning, better than Y.A. Tittle, better than Phil Simms. He does. People don't think of him that way, obviously. They think he's, because of his record, they don't think of him that way. But the issue is, and we learned this because his record's really good against Washington. If you don't disrupt him and he could just step back and make his couple of reads in the pocket, he's actually deadly accurate and has a very good arm and can really move. You have to make him uncomfortable. And that bothers me that our defense couldn't do that against an offensive line that is consistently being criticized for not protecting him enough. So there's not enough pass rush here. And this was going to be a concern. And I think the bigger one is, I think up the middle, like the strength of this team is the middle. We just need to see more from John and Duran. That just has to be the case moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most disappointing part of the defense, because if you would have told me that, the DBs are going to have some trouble, I'd go, yeah, look who they're rolling out there. Of course they're going to have some trouble in the NFL with the way the depth chart looks. But the pass rush being non-existent, I know Farrell had a sack yesterday, and that was a good play, but even I'm looking at this one going, you're paying two big defensive tackles to open up somebody, and I know the two ends aren't ideal in terms of, I just talked about explosive players. They're not explosive players. The fact that we're not even seeing a flash from John or Duran yet is definitely a little bit worrisome. We know they're going to show up at some point, but the fact they didn't show up against that team is a little bit worrying for me.
And the other one is, corner's a problem. Like, I think these are things that, like, we're talking about things that we predicted would be a problem entering the season. Now that Forbes is out, they're a little bit more undermanned and they're moving people around, and they already made a shift because Igbenogany was playing on the outside. Neighbors is a monster, by the way. Like seeing him live and in person, he is cat quick. Like he reminds me of Jamar Chase. That's what he looks like. So he's going to be a problem. He did one that was like a Gary Clark move where he faked inside, went back outside. He's so fast after he gets the ball. He's going to be an issue. So he's going to be a hit for them, obviously. That doesn't change the fact that our corners just right now, again, St. Juste, it's so mixed. Like, again, for second week in a row, I don't think he played poorly, actually. I actually thought he played pretty well. I know people were hitting him up because After the Tampa game, he gave up a couple touchdowns. There was execution that was part of that. Baker threw perfect passes to Mike Evans. I don't know what St. Juice was supposed to do about it. Like you could nitpick some of the stuff. I actually think he's played okay through a couple of games. I need to review, but I think he's played okay. It's that other side that we have a problem with. Forbes now out. They're mixing people around. Quinn already admitted his word is, we'll still be in competition, which means they might be looking around, I don't know. Maybe they call another player up. Chiganuzium was someone who they liked in camp. Maybe he gets an opportunity, but the answers aren't there. It does go back to, there's a lot of I told you so's on this. Like people were saying it, me included, from the spring. I don't think they have a number one corner. I think it's going to bite them in the end. They haven't brought anybody in here, and they seem to be recognizing that now through a couple of games.
Yeah, no, it's clearly the biggest problem on the defense. I mean, because they just cannot keep rolling these guys out. And we haven't even seen a legitimate wide receiver core. Like, we're going to talk about the Bengals this week. And, that scares me with the two that they're going to roll out there. Because who they've had in these first 2 weeks have been the Tampa trio is great, obviously. But they're getting up there in age. I look at the Bengals ones and go, that's a whole different monster compared to what they played in week one. And then yesterday, you're basically looking at one wide receiver, and he was making a lot of your dudes look silly, essentially. I'm with you on St. Juice, by the way. I think when you're a number one corner in this league, you're going to have good and bad moments. And I thought yesterday he was actually fine. I didn't really have a problem with this game. He had a couple really good pass breakups, too, where he was just right there where he needed to be. The throw wasn't there. He's been fine for me. He's far from the problem when it comes to that cornerback room.
As a number two corner, if you had a stronger number one, I'd be okay with him.
Yeah.
I would. I don't think he's played poorly. It's that other side of the field that they have to work with. And then I thought Mike Sanders still would have a big play. They didn't throw the ball anywhere near him, actually. Neighbors got 18 targets yesterday.
Yeah. Because
they couldn't cover him. And, this is one of those things, too, when you see it, you're like, when your rival gets a player like this and you go, he's going to be a problem for 5 years, maybe longer. He is. He's it. We're going to have a problem with him. They have a legit number one receiver. First time in a while they've had one. Did they have a legit number one receiver? They got one in him. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. Welcome back. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, let's go through week 2. How about them Saints? Wow. So Dallas got drubbed at home by New Orleans, who's got, at least through 2 weeks, best offense in the league. When they did it against Carolina, everybody was like, well, I guess we knew that was when is Tepper going to lose his mind? But to go to Dallas, not at home, to do it in Dallas and just boat race them and make their defense look bad. Big play after big play after big play. I saw the arguments on the sideline. Is that the Saints or is that the Cowboys? I don't know. Maybe probably a little bit of both.
It's your boy Zimmer over there running the show. It's your boy.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to cut off teddy bears' heads and put ketchup on their bodies.
Is Micah down with that? I don't know if Micah's down with that. I saw him yelling at people on the sideline yesterday too. Yeah. And
Look, they lost their staff. They lost players. They're not as good personnel wise, and they changed their staff. This is what I've been talking about from the offseason. There's just no chance they're as good as they were a year ago. There's just no way. Both sides of the ball, there's just no way. Are they good enough to make the playoffs? Sure. But I don't see them winning 12 games again. It's going to be up and down. And if they can be exposed like this, watch out. With the Saints, I will say, about their offense, Olave, the other receiver, Shaheed, it's very fast. Kamara looked like he was back to himself.
Yep.
They're very explosive. This is what we're missing, these explosive outside receivers that can make plays like that.
And for some reason now, Carr is chains on planes. He's getting in dudes' faces and doing dances in the end zone. I don't know if is there a little Baker there where now he's more comfortable in New Orleans, but
we got a weird storyline going on here with Darnold, Baker, Carr, guys who have either bounced around, but were very high picks now in the middle to latter stretches of their career and have found homes all of a sudden and are good. Good enough? I don't know, but good, like good.
Yeah, no, and like it's 2 weeks in a row where I've seen highlights of him going at the other defensive players because they're all getting mad at him. And I'm like, I don't know if I've seen a guy kind of piss off a defense like this guy has in the last 2 weeks. For a guy that's like such just an older white quarterback, I've just never seen a dude get under another defense's skin like him. So yeah.
It's really amazing, like right now, because every year, and especially this year, there's so much hype on the new quarterbacks. Jaden's off to a good start. Caleb's going to be under a microscope the whole year. We'll see if Drake May plays. We'll see if Penix plays. Bo Nix, I think to a lesser degree, just because of the excitement around Williams and Daniels coming into the league. And here's some of these guys that have been around the block a little bit going, this is a really hard league. And sometimes it takes a little while, and we found our spots. And in Baker's case, I told you the Bucks are good. I've been telling you people, like everyone who freaked out after that first game, I'm like, you need to take a step back just for a minute. That was their debut with a whole new team against a playoff team that's been in the playoffs 4 years in a row with a quarterback who found a home and, oh, by the way, was a number 1 overall pick at one point in time. And there they went up to Campbell's house and bit the kneecaps and won. They are legitimately good. They are, if the chips fall the right way for them, I would not be shocked if they're in the NFC Championship game or more this year because they've got a cohesive team, unlike some of these other groups that are very, very good, but don't have a cohesive team like that. Like they're primed and set up for a big year, frankly.
2 of my storylines are starting to develop here, and they both came from this game. I told you on Friday that the Bucks were going to beat them. I said that they were going to go beat the Lions, mainly because I didn't like the Lions against the Rams, the fact that it took them to overtime to beat them. So here it is. They get a real team. I'm not going to disparage the Rams there. They get a better team in the Bucks. They go up there and they win. So they're all of a sudden still going to be playoff. Here's another one with the Lions, though. I don't know if they were ready for all of the offseason of positivity. The whole everyone loves them. Dan Campbell's doing Applebee's commercials or whatever. I'm just telling you, like I've seen this before, when you get a new franchise, not a new franchise, but a franchise that isn't used to the positivity, that you kind of lose the tenacity a little bit here. And I think we're seeing at the beginning of the year. I don't think it's going to last all year, but I think they're now realizing, oh crap, someone sees the Lions on their schedule and it's not the old Lions anymore. It's a legitimate, target on your back now. I think we're starting to see that right in front of our eyes, not only with the Bucks, but also with the Lions.
There's another thing too. Flash always sells. Like when you see what Lamar does and Mahomes does. I remember back in that AFC title game up in Baltimore, the difference between the Chiefs and the Ravens were the Chiefs got tough in that game. Remember Kelsey was punching back early. They got really tough with them. These two teams, the Buccaneers and the Lions, I think the thing that Dan Campbell's done really well with Detroit is he's kind of instilled this kind of toughness and physicality to them that, I think it's hard to do when you go through a lot of years where you're not perceived that way. You don't play that way. Tampa Bay's got it too. Yeah. Like these are tough teams. I think one of the 49ers are this way too. It's not just that they're really good at executing, et cetera, et cetera. They're a very tough team, physical team. They're going to get into a fight with you. The Buccaneers are proving that here early, that they're willing to do it, and they're good. Let's see. Colts get the Packers without Jordan Love, play Malik Willis, and lose. I know it's on the road, and I know Green Bay was a playoff team a year ago, but you kind of have to win that game. If you're going to show me that you are serious and that you kind of have to go win that game, and the fact that they didn't, and they scored 10 points, and their quarterback threw 3 interceptions because he's erratic as a passer, it's not a good sign of things to come for them. That's going to be, the way it's going in that division right now, Houston's going to run away with it, like badly run away with it. And if the Colts aren't going to be better than this, and the Jaguars aren't going to be better than what they were, then Houston's going to just roll in that division and win it easily.
I forget what it was because I was also at the game yesterday, but when I looked at halftime, I think the Packers had rushed for something like 180 yards at half. They were just running the ball on them. They said, we don't have a quarterback that can actually run this offense right now. We're just going to run it straight at you. And the Colts couldn't stop that. I think that's ridiculous. Like, you have to assume the Packers were going to do that going into the game. And the fact that they ran for over 200 yards, I think it ended up being over 250 by the end of it. that's kind of inexcusable. Like, you knew they wouldn't be able to pass. And so, yeah, that should have been one on Friday. We should have said smell, because the fact that the Colts were even favored going into that game, that one in retrospect, even I'm kind of like, that one smelled a little too much.
I mean, you know my line. I'm always like, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. The reality is that was just so set up for Indy to go up there and just steal a win. You know, like when you get the schedule, it comes out and it goes at Green Bay, you're like, chalk it up as a loss. Well, without Jordan Love, and now their backup quarterback is a failed backup quarterback in another place who's been there 3 weeks, how you don't figure out a way to win, that's on you. I mean, It really is. So that's a disheartening loss for them. And for Houston, who won, I'll get to them a little bit, like they got to be looking around going, nobody's even in our class right now. I mean, not even close. Let's see. I'll get to these real quick. Seahawks and Chargers both get East Coast wins. Both play teams that aren't likely to be in the playoffs, but they win. The Patriots, very competitive in their opener, beat Cincinnati. That was a surprise. Seahawks go there and win. I think listen, they had to go across the country and knock them off. I do think New England's got a real defense, like a for real defense. So I don't discount this. I think that's a good NFL win to go across the country and play them, especially off of their opener. Carolina's terrible. I mean, it's hard to be this bad in the NFL. I mean, it's really hard. We were this last year, but I think there were circumstances around it. Systemically, it is a mess there right now. I don't know. Knowing that their owner is got the attention span of a mosquito, I have a feeling it's not going to go well very, very soon. At this point, though, when you get blown out 2 weeks in a row and people are wearing bags on their heads to your game, you might have to step in and do something. But he's stepped in so many times that they've stepped in it, and they're in a situation now that it's going to take a while to get out of. We got to live this a little bit, where you're like, I don't know that we've got the structure to fix what's going on here. They might just keep making it worse. And how much worse can it get? And Harbaugh, he eats teams like this. Like, we're going to be like, we may not have the best players and we may not have the best this, but we show up every week and we play sound football. And if you're incapable of it, we will beat you. And the score will not be pretty in the end. And that's what happened there.
I think just to go to your first one, good win for the Seahawks going to New England and beating the Patriots. I think that's a good win going across the country. I think the Patriots are better than we're going to give them credit for at the beginning of the year. And then on the Chargers, this was a chalked up win because of Harbaugh, but then we're starting to get the Bryce Young camera on him of looking like he's about to cry. The offense is so bad, like the body language isn't there. And then you had Thielen come out after the game last night and say, it's not him, it's all of us. Like, he's far from the problem. Like, the fact that we're getting that 2 weeks in from them is already, they might get the number 1 overall pick again this year. I mean, it's bad there. It's really bad.
It's part of me for Bryce Young. I almost want him to go somewhere else just to find out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's, NFL caliber star quarterback or not, but I don't think we're going to find out unless he goes somewhere else. Yep. So I think that needs to happen for him. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. All right, here's a big question. Are the Vikings good? They blew out the Giants, and everyone was like, well, that's dimes, and they stink, and blah, 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 blah. And then they beat the 49ers yesterday, guys. So, listen, I think O'Connell's a good coach. He proved that to me a year ago after Kirk got hurt, and they kind of kept them competitive through the year. Kind of told you what you need to know. This is what I said about Salah. I don't know about him. When something went wrong, they crumbled. When every team has things go wrong, and we have a prominent thing go wrong, how do you handle it? And I thought the Vikings handled it very well. Then this year I looked at them and I went, well, I just don't think they have good enough quarterback play to win. And their division's very strong. And, well, they're telling everybody to shut up through a couple of weeks. And Darnold's looked pretty good. Jefferson looks like he's not missing a beat, even though they switched up the quarterbacks on him. And their defense looks better than it was a year ago, better. So maybe they're the surprise of the year. Maybe they are pretty good.
I talked about this on my show on Friday. I thought the 49ers were a lock to win this game because if you remember last year, the Vikings, remember they jumped them on Monday Night Football? I don't know if you remember that game. It was like week 7, week 8, something like that, where the Vikings jumped the Niners and they won. And I thought going into this game, Shanahan's going, not happening again. Like we know about this team. We're going to come out and beat them. And the fact that the Vikings went ahead and beat them anyways, knowing what they did last year, I think they're good. I don't know if they're great. I think they're good. And here's the other thing. Yeah. This was Shanahan's doing a little bit. Shanahan's now Mr. Car Wash for backup quarterbacks. Now he's the guy that if you're a backup quarterback or a failed first-round pick, you go to Shanahan now and clean your act up. Darnold is now the latest example of a guy that sat in that offense for a year, goes to O'Connell, looks like a professional NFL quarterback again. I have to hand it to the Vikings. They put it together for a win against them.
I always do feel like the NFL in the first month, there's a lot of interesting outcomes and then things shake out after that.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting sign. Like maybe they are better than I expected them to be. I kind of had them as a 3rd or 4th place team in that division. The way the Bears are going right now may not be the case. So we'll have to see. All right. Rodgers tells everybody RELAX. We're fine. They win. It's a close game in Tennessee, but they won. And I feel like having seen a good amount of Rodgers, because I watched him, the week before in the game where he just didn't have the ball against the 49ers. I didn't see a lot of this, yesterday because I was obviously doing our game. I think they're going to be fine. I do. As long as he stays healthy, I think they're going to be fine. Is it going to be bumpy? Maybe. I think their defense, that's probably the surprise here. I thought their defense was a dominant one. It hasn't been that way here early in the season. So maybe that shifts. And if it does, then they're going to be more than fine. But if it doesn't, and for some reason they're average, 10th in the league, 12th in the league, I mean, their personnel's too good to be lower than that, then it's going to be harder than I thought it would be. I looked at Breece Hall, those weapons, and Rodgers and went, they actually don't have to score a ton because their defense is so good. Well, that's not the case here so far early in the season.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll go back to what I say about the Jets. I'll probably say it all year long. They need to hover around 500, then rip off some wins to make the playoffs because I don't think they're going to win that division. So they just need to make sure that they stay solid and they're okay. One thing I will say on this, I'm ready to declare my first quarterback that should be moved on from. It's Will Levis. Like, I've seen enough. Like, he's not making bad plays. He's making boneheaded, dumb plays. Like, yes. I mean, it's really, really bad where you're kind of looking at him going, dude, you got like maybe a month here, but a month more of playing like that, you're out of the league. Like, people aren't going to touch you. He's made some stupid plays the last 2 weeks.
The second he threw that crazy pass and then did the crazy meme thing on the field, I went, it's over. Like, and I liked him in college. I actually thought he was pretty. I was kind of open to him. I'm like, I don't know, but there's nothing more frustrating than the whole team knows at some point you're going to do something so crazy that's going to lose the game.
Exactly.
How about your boy, Trev?
Called it. Just please give me my credit here. Give me my credit here. I've been all over this all summer.
So off a week where the Browns had the worst possible headlines, they go there and the Jaguars are in no-show again. I'm going to go Dougie P's hitting the hot seat fast.
Yep.
And they gave Trevor all that money. And I remember sitting there thinking when they did it in the offseason, because I can't remember. He's Bradley Beal. I can't remember the game where I'm like, where did he show up and was the elite player? But they also don't have anybody even remotely close to better than him. So what do? You have to make a choice. And it could not have started worse. Like, it can't. Like, they can't score. I don't know why, but they can't score.
I knew it. I knew with this game, and I even told you that Cleveland was going to go down there and beat them. And here's the thing. When bad franchises give out money like that and then do the stupid, we're going to rename the stadium after Trevor that day, we've been a part of this. Like, what's going to happen, that they're going to lose, and they do. Like, I saw this one coming from a mile away. I've sat here before and said, well, that's not going to look good on Monday when they lose. And it happened. I'm not surprised. Here's the other thing, too. Browns had a bad game against the Cowboys. We have a weird circle going now here because I don't know who's bad or good with the Browns or the Cowboys or like the Saints or whatever. But they lose to the Cowboys. Cowboys have a good roster. But the Browns also have a really good roster that they should be able to show up and beat certain teams. That's one of the teams that they should show up and beat. And they did just that yesterday.
The surprises of the day, the Rams took the bus and
It's good Chiron.
got blown out by the boy. That's really unusual for McVay. Get blown out by the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals had a big lead in Buffalo. Like we'd have to ask the question: are they good? Had they won that game up in Buffalo? Marvin Harrison, I knew he's going to blow up. Like he's the number one target there. He's a ready-made, not unlike Jaden here as a quarterback. Like he's just kind of ready-made, not really a rookie. Marvin Harrison is not a rookie. Like he's walking in the door as their top target, and they've got a real quarterback there. So I'm not surprised. That score is very surprising. Like I just don't expect that from McVay and company. So I'd like to know what's up there. And then obviously the shocker of the day, and I'm sure there are a bazillion survivor pools that went down with the Bengals a week ago. And if you somehow survived that one, you went out this week.
Or ball back in.
The Ravens were the chalk of the day. Home against the Raiders, they were the chalk of the day. I don't know what's up with that. Like this is why the NFL is the best. It is unpredictable week to week to week, and I don't know what is up with that result. That's the weirdest one of the year to me, more than the Patriots beating the Bengals. That's the weirdest one of the first 2 weeks by far.
I agree 100% because the Ravens are great at home, not just like good. They're great at home. Harbaugh has his teams ready to go against teams like this. They had a couple extra days off too. That's the other weird thing here. They played that first game. They got a mini break just to start things off. This is a weird one. Did you happen to see the clip of Crosby going up to Minshew? Did you happen to see that clip yet?
No.
Minshew threw a really bad pick and put the Raiders defense back on the field. And Crosby went up to him and did the finger in the chest of like, we need you. We need you to be good. We need you to bounce back. We've got you on this one, but we need you to be really good. And Gardner started hitting him on the shoulder pads. I kind of like the moxie of that team under Pierce now that I kind of saw that clip, because to be there in Baltimore and to go up to a guy like Minshew, who's a journeyman, to say, we got you like that, and then to come out and win, you know how that is. That's a team that might beat some people and go 500 if they keep that chemistry up for the year.
I don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to show you what I wrote. Justin Fields, let's ride. I thought that was fun. That was fun. Anybody got a good Butker joke today? No, you don't, do you? Do you, ladies? What's your joke today after he won the game against the 50 plus? No show for Caleb through 2. We'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit.
Yeah.
And then real quick, Kirk, oh boy. Does the ready-made quarterback controversy that they thrust on themselves in Atlanta start tonight if the Eagles embarrass the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football? I think it's a possibility.
Well, and Kirk,
it'll be their fault.
And Kirk, not in a Washington uniform, but in a Vikings uniform, the last time he was there on a Monday night in Philly. Terrible. Like really, really bad. So good luck, Kirk. Good luck tonight.
Yep. All right. That'll do it for today. Talk to you tomorrow. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.